All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching Eastern Volleyball Network. Graham Wren, our usual co host, Kevin Knight, finally back with us at last. And then we are joined by the most esteemed special guest, Robert Wingert. Rob, how's it going? It's good to see you.
I'm Kevin. Thanks for having me on again. I'm super stoked. It's Christmas in June, the best weekend of the year. It's time to talk about the Pottstown Rumble.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. A lot of these grass tournaments, we are not the most knowledgeable, so we're definitely thankful for your presence here. Kind of providing good background on a lot of solid players, and hopefully not shitting on our takes too much. But if you feel the need to, don't hesitate at all.
It's a little bit easier in grass. You got an extra 3 or 4 feet on each end for the takes, so you won't misfire as much as you guys might normally.
Nice.
Yeah, we got something like 110 teams or something like that, and I'm led to believe this is small for the Rumble.
Yeah, had a little talk with Seth and Ken before we hopped on, and it's the biggest Rumble ever in terms of total participants, but a little bit smaller in the men's open division this year. The biggest I think I've seen it was like 140 or 145. I think they had run close to 30 pools that year. Last year, I think they were in the mid 120s. I'm not sure what the case is this year, but even with a smaller amount of teams, there's definitely no shortage of talent in this field, having the chance to carefully comb through all 110 pairs that are competing this weekend and doing my research.
All those former indoor players, former and current, that you get to go figure out who they are and what they've done. Meanwhile, I'll know all there is to know about like the 10 beach teams. But anyway, let's get into it. It's a whole bunch of pool play, a whole bunch of bracket play, none of which we're interested in.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just gonna provide a preview, kind of start from the bottom. We're gonna start with the worst of the worst. No offense, guys, and then kind of work our way towards the top. We'll try to highlight some landmine teams, or maybe just talk about some people we know and try to talk some shit. And then just kind of work our way to the top, and let you know who we think has a chance to bring home the Rumble crown. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let Rob start us off. Anybody jump out to you from the bottom 15 teams or so?
Yeah, so I'll preview 2 quick teams in this bottom 15. Seated at 103, you got Eli Poor and Yasmin Cole. Anyone on the East Coast knows Eli's name in the world of volleyball. The guy is as connected as anyone. Through his dad, through his time at Arcadia, excellent indoor player, excellent guy in the grass, all around great guy to be around. And partner Yaz Cole took a long break from volleyball, runs a golf social media account these days. And he signed up. He's got no points. I think his highest finish at Pottstown, I think he had a 3rd, 4th. He won the Smash a few years ago with Chris Vaughn. Famously played in jean shorts for the entirety of that day. So having them at 103 is pretty rough. And then the other one I'll give a shout out to is one of my former college teammates and his brother, Ryan and Ben Chinisi. They are seeded 95. Ben made a 3rd, 4th when he was a junior in high school with his oldest brother, Corey. They just absolutely were rocking jumpsters. He played for 4 years at Ball State. Ryan has finished, I think, in the quarterfinals as his highest finished at Pottstown. And if you're a fan of Out of System, you recently would have seen him setting against those guys in the finals of the Bad Boys Open. So Ben's got no points. Ryan's only got about 1,000, so they're pretty far down there. But those are 2 guys or 2 pairs I'd keep my eye on in that bottom 15 range.
Gotcha. Very cool. Kevin, you got anybody you want to talk about in that bottom 15 range?
In the bottom 15, I got nothing, although I am only just a little bit curious, Rob, maybe you know the answer to this, but I think there's a guy who used to play on the AVP named Jimmy Nichols, kind of old school guy. And I'm curious if that guy, Walker Nichols, has any relation to him, because Jimmy Nichols, I think, was one of the shortest but most effective players on the beach for a little while.
Yeah, Walker's Jimmy's son.
Oh, nice.
He spent the past few years coaching at Wells College. This is his first year. He wasn't there. Walker played for Jimmy at Wells, and they went to an NCAA tournament or two during their time. And obviously, they're huge in the Syracuse area. Really helped on the beach game up there. So yeah, good eye. Walker is Jimmy's son. So maybe we'll see Jimmy patrolling the grounds, but we'll definitely see Walker competing, it seems.
All right, Graham, what you got?
Just a little bit ahead of the bottom 15, coming in at the 92 seed. I want to talk about Sam Albus and Trevor Lund. Sam Albus, out of the Richmond area, played club ball at Virginia Tech, originally a middle, ended up transferring to the right side. Has got a pretty big arm, high flyer, doesn't pass too poorly either. Unfortunately, I don't really know his partner, Trevor Lund, who, if you look at his AVP America account, he's out of Stamford, Connecticut. He's played exactly one event, a reverse co-ed, so he's really doing the most to stay under the radar here. But just kind of based on, this range of teams and the athleticism and power that Albus brings to the table, that's a team to watch out for as far as towards the bottom end of the seeding, in my opinion.
I think we can move on up if Rob, you got anybody that like 90 to 70 range.
From the 90 to 70 range, I am looking through it, and the one I would probably say to keep an eye on, and they're just outside of it right there at 91. Tom Burrell and Will Ragland. Will Ragland. Another Virginia guy coming in with 0 points. You guys got to figure out your AVP stuff down there. But he's since moved to Chicago, playing a lot of indoor ball with the Chicago Untouchables. He's teamed up with Tom Burrell, former middle from Stevens, who made playoffs last year with a good friend of mine, Matt Buffum. Shout out to Middle Mondays.
Yep.
Tom and Will are going to be absolutely electric from the service line. They're going to be putting in a lot of heavy jump serves, and all you need is to get hot against the right team, and you're putting yourselves in a good spot. And anyone who's played against Will knows that you should probably bring some earmuffs with you and maybe keep anyone who's under 18 away from the court. He is going to have plenty of thoughts to share about his play, your play, the officials, everything in between. Will not be afraid to share his thoughts. And then the other one I would keep an eye on up at the 77, Stephen Braswell and Ray Frazier. Steve played his college ball at St. Francis University along with Ray. Steve spent a couple years playing overseas. I think he lives in Canada now, someone had told me.
Great White North.
Big body, big jump server, great ball control. So those are two more guys I'd keep an eye on in that range. And my last little tidbit, at seed 71, Rich Dougal. If you guys have ever seen the picture of Rumble Man on center court, it's designed after Rich Dougal. So get over to Rich's court, take a look, and you'll see the resemblance right away.
All right, Kevin, you got anybody you want to talk about?
No, I got somebody just outside of that at 68. I guess I'll go. Josh Bigford, I played a tournament with down in Wilmington where I was actually caught baking when my match was supposed to start. I think we ended up giving up 2 free points for that one, so my bad. I think his parents might still be mad about that one. He's playing with Trevor Cavaness. That should be a really beachy team. Like, I don't think either one of them bring a whole lot of heat from the service line, but their ball control should make them dangerous to play against until probably the tournament tightens up a lot and you have to be scoring aces. I think that may be the only area they struggle. But really, really good ball player. Knocked me out of an AVP qualifier last year in like 26 mile per hour winds. So I know he's got this. They have the skills to do it, but we'll see how they do. I think they could be a nightmare for somebody that kind of discounts them for being a little bit of a smaller and less physical team.
Very cool.
You can't prove it. Josh plays his college ball at St. John Fisher, and I had the chance to compete against his team indoor this year and then call one of his matches in the NCAA tournament. We think Josh may have set a record for error rate. Players with over 1,000 swings, he was below 6%.
There you go.
And was a first-team All-American, I believe, this year. So over 1,000 swings, less than 6% error. You want to talk ball control, whether it's the receive setting or attacking, Bigford has that in spades.
Yep. All right, Graham, who you got?
I'm going to go ahead and talk about the 79 seed. Mr. Eddie Mushikian deciding he doesn't need a partner, decided he's going to take on the Rumble field on his own, signed up with NA. I would anticipate Eddie picking up somebody of quality. Eddie plays, I believe, VOA for Southern Exposure. Real solid baller. Indoor, grass, beach, does it all. A little undersized, but he's got plenty of power to make up for it. So maybe if he deflates that head a little bit and decides that he could use another partner, then maybe look for them to make a little bit of a run, and a team to watch out for. But then they'll no longer be in the seeding range, so we won't be talking about them then either.
You're going to play without a partner, you need to be really electric from the service line.
Yeah, or a good tennis player, one of the two.
70 to 50, boys.
I can give a first shout here. I'm going to talk about Cole Brillhart and Nate Wilson. These are two young guys, both at Ohio State. Nate's dad is famous Pennsylvania volleyball coach Matt Wilson, who ran the Northeastern High School Empire. I think at one point they had won 7 straight PIAA state titles in a row. Dad also played at Ohio State. Cole played at Lewis. I apologize. I think he just finished up his eligibility there. Two young guys, big jump servers, great ball control. Classic team where if you catch them at the wrong point on a Saturday and you're the 1 seed and you're walking through the motions a little bit, they can catch you with a really hot performance from the service line. So those are two young guys I'd keep an eye out for. And then the other one in that range, I would put on John Beck and Justin Rogers. John not playing as much volleyball as he used to, but when he does, he can still really rip from the service line. He's about 6'6", I would say, long arms, tough guy to stop. And Justin Rogers is a flying squirrel for a reason. I mean, that guy picks up everything, probably hits the best sky ball in all of Maryland since Hanky left. So he can be a little bit of a tough guy to handle from the service line. They just do things a little bit weird. So those are my two teams in the 70 to 50 range to keep an eye on.
Mine is pretty obvious. Kyle Ratty and Mike Mikolau coming in at 52. Not actually sure how they're that low, because I feel like Mikolau plays a lot of grass where he's from, but they have 607 points, so they ended up fairly low on the list. Right, Ratty's made the AVP a couple times. Mikolau is physically pretty freaky. Normally plays with Angel Dace and has made some really deep runs at Pottstown and Wapaka, I think, as well. High hard hitters. They can do the rest of the skills fairly well, and it's just going to be a matter of do they mesh as a team, and how are they doing mentally and physically throughout the day. But definitely a team, a really low team to watch out for when bracket play comes along.
All right. My one team I'm going to talk about at 64, Mr. Anthony Winter, bit of a co-host for Eastern Volleyball Network himself, and then his partner, Will Baverka. They're as low as they are because, frankly, neither of them play a ton of grass. They're definitely more beach guys. And then on top of that, what was that? Oh, indoor. Indoor as of 2022, deciding to go play for I don't even know what the name of their team is out of that area. But what was that?
Cleveland something or another.
Yeah, Cleveland something or another. Feel for the guys. So
Anthony hates us now.
Yeah, for sure. But both very solid beach players, regularly taking kind of 3rd, 5th, 7th at those pretty stacked Chaos Beach tournaments dating back to, 2019, 2020. So definitely have the ball control and, since their transition to the indoor have possibly developed the arms to compete on the grass. So maybe they'll be okay. We'll see.
What you guys were looking for is Team Eastern Cleveland Volleyball as an adamant follower of the U.S. indoor game. I believe that's who they are, and they got a big cup win up in Buffalo. So shout out to those guys.
Tier 2 though, right?
Tier 2 for now. Available. The first U.S. sport with promotion and relegation. So something the VLA is getting right for sure.
Okay, there you go.
50 through 30. This will be the last one where I think we have a really big group of guys and probably only a few teams to talk about, but then it'll probably tighten up from there.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple that I want to hit in here, and that's the way it should be as we get higher up the bracket. The first being right at 48, Jacob Waga and Jacob Laboulier. These two guys play at Wentworth Institute of Technology up in Boston, who made the Final Four this past year. Jacob Laboulier is a little bit like Madonna. He goes by one name. He's known as Labou. He is a 6'10" outside, and he is every inch of it. The guy was nearly unstoppable until the Final Four this past year. He hit about 440. And I can't imagine there's going to be a block he sees this weekend that will intimidate him. So if they can pass the ball, I know that they're going to cause problems from the service line. Waga's got a really big lefty arm. And like I said, Labou's 6'10", so he's probably the tallest player competing this weekend. So there's going to be some unsuspecting team who sees those two names on their pool sheet that they don't know. And then that kid's going to show up to the court and could be taller than the net. So there's definitely one name I'd keep an eye out for. Another one in that range that I've got to talk about, Luke Pinto and Landon Shorts. Landon is, one of my close friends, my former graduate assistant here at Misericordia, and arguably the most dynamic athlete you will see competing this weekend. The guy's got a 45-inch vertical, arm like a whip, and just can win a whole playoff match from the service line himself. Luke Pinto, another buddy of mine, been playing really good volleyball this past year and has been getting a lot of touches in. I think him and Landon will complement each other really well on the mental side of things. Luke is a guy who loves to have fun, who loves to throw some verbal jabs at his opponent, and consistently has one of the most unique looks at the Rumble. So if nothing else, they're going to be a great visual show. And the last one I'll throw it out to is Chris Detto and Dan Buring. I actually don't know much about Chris. So, Kevin, I'm seeing a nod from you. You might have to talk about him a little bit more. But Dan is now the head coach at Stevens Tech in my conference. I know he's played on a few AVPs. He's getting his footing here on the East Coast in the beach game. And I've been texting with him a little bit, and he is really excited to get out and experience Pottstown for the first time. And anytime anyone's excited to play Pottstown, I think it's really big because a lot of people come in dreading what the weekend could look like. So Dan's unrelenting optimism will be a big boost for his team for sure.
I was going to say, out of the 50 to 30 list, there's essentially two guys that I recognize. I know at 50, Jeremy Ayers, we know him as Stretch. Although Graham may want to talk about him a little bit more. He's a great old school guy that plays a lot of the Virginia Beach tournaments around us. And then Dan Buring is I think originally he was playing a lot around the Midwest for beach stuff, and he's always one of those like most consistent high finishers out that way. So love seeing that name on the list. I don't personally think I've interacted much with him, but he's one of those names I've heard about from a number of different guys. He's a really good volleyball player. And then at 30, interestingly enough, is Anthony Rivera and Chris Weber, both of whom who have played
Chase Weber.
Chase Weber, who have played in our area, actually in Raleigh. They've played a bit of each and a lot of grass. So it's interesting that I guess Anthony has racked up a lot of points recently because he's up at 2,000, but Chase has an absolute monster of an arm. And Anthony is no slouch himself. I think he was a setter at College of Charleston or something like that. But love seeing guys that we've practiced against up at Pottstown. So those are my teams.
Yeah. Galaxy S21 Ultra trying to join the chat again. Hopefully, hopefully Rob is able to rejoin us. Another team I want to talk about, but more specifically, I think just a player I want to talk about, Ryan McGinley, I believe known in some parts as Big Country. Ryan is, I believe, still to this day undefeated in jousts. There's a lot of people who claim to be undefeated in jousts. Ryan is actually undefeated in jousts. A few years ago, I want to say it was like 2019, I think he knocked off Hudson Bates, pulling off a big upset in Pottstown. So that's a name I just wanted to highlight. I don't really know his partner. but within that 50 to 30 range. I think that's kind of the one guy I wanted to talk about. So let's go 30 to 20 next. Rob, anybody you want to talk about?
I'm going to have you toss that to Kevin because I am getting my list back up, and then he can swing back around to me.
I mean,
Sounds good.
At 28, immediately have to talk about Chris Frazier. I'm not sure I know much about Kyle Mariano, who he's playing with. I'm sure he's a solid Northeast baller, but Frazier and I played a couple tournaments. Frazier played a long time on the NBL. He's been playing some MVP qualifiers here and there, and I think he might be all the way up to like 37, 38, 39 years old. He's like very much in the range of like the Mark Forniciari guys, but as Graham might say, unlike old tobacco, Chris Frazier at 39 probably jumps as high and looks like he did at 29 or maybe even 19. And he's got the energy for it as well. He's a great athlete and a great volleyball player. So I assume that he'll be a strong one at the 28 seed.
Yeah, his volleyball game definitely has not diminished with age. I wish I could say the same for his beer pong game.
Oh my God. All right, Graham, who are you going with at this?
Let's talk about the 20. Sorry, I lost him on my list. 25 seed. Kevin Nardone and Nikki Smith. Nick Smith, very well known for playing with his brother Christian. They're going to be a strong team, but I've got some questions about whether Nikki can pull out a strong performance without his brother. How's Kobe going to do without Shaq?
Yeah. As long as he's got the jersey and the snake with him, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think Nick will find a way to bomb balls and scream his way to a solid finish here. But they're definitely an entertaining team to watch for sure.
And then right at the 20 mark, I'm going to bring you two more young guys, Jared Ray and Mason Nisley. I have to see a lot of Mason Nisley, unfortunately for me, during the indoor season. Two-time first-team All-American at Messiah University. He was the 2021 National Player of the Year. Huge arm. The kid is built like a construction worker had a baby with a bull. I mean, I think he could tool a steel girder. Just an absolute can for an arm. And he is playing with Jared Ray. Kevin, Jared's someone I would keep an eye on in the beach scene. I know he's been doing a lot more training up here. He's only 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
He's about 6'7", long arms, has a little bit of that Caleb Janess build to him. And he's really putting in the time. He took this year off from the indoor scene. But this kid is probably touching about 12-2 on a good day, reaching really high, got nice dynamic to his arm. If they can set each other well, I think they'll be a really big problem for a lot of teams. The first time they played together was the Smash, and they got a 5th through 8th together. And I know they've been training together a little bit when they've had the chance. But this will be Jared's first venture onto the grass this year. So excited to see what those guys can do if the pools and brackets break well for them.
I'd like to give one more shout out to the 24 Chandler North and Tyler Wills for two reasons. One, they're probably one of the strongest teams out of Wisconsin. You'll see them in the semis and finals of a ton of the tournaments and probably even Wapaka up their way. They play a lot more triples than they do doubles, but both of them are fantastic volleyball players and athletes. And then another fun fact is that ever since Chandler and I became friends on Facebook, Facebook continually tries to tag me in Chandler's pictures and tag Chandler in my pictures, which is pretty funny for both of us. We do have some striking resemblance, which was noted by Wisconsin's Bob Hall when he played in Charleston. He's like, "You look just like our friend Chandler." I was like, I don't really get that much, but then sure enough, Facebook's algorithm started tagging us in each other's photos, which is pretty funny. But happy to see them making the trip from Wisconsin over to Pottstown, and I'm sure they'll bring the heat and have a good time.
And I think those two are the only group to have beaten a team we'll be talking about in a little bit in the last year in a doubles tournament. So those guys definitely have a model for success against one of the top contenders.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Moving up, I guess you want to do Do you want to do it just by 5, or you want to go 20 through 10 on this one?
We'll do it by 5.
All
Do it
right.
by 5. 20 to 15. Rob, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I will start us off with the self-proclaimed greatest show on grass, Shane Spellman and Ryan Charterina.
You took mine. You took mine.
Those
God damn it.
guys are worth the price of admission alone. I don't know if they're going to win. I don't know if they'll win a game. I'm sure they will. But even if they don't, I can guarantee you're going to see them on center court. Last year, Shane played the entire weekend in sweatpants and didn't die of heat strokes. That was a feat within itself. He set multiple free balls on center court just to show off. And Ryan, I mean, the muscle hamster, you can't say enough about that guy. You know, at 5'2", he can switch sides just by walking under the net after those 4 or 5 point allotments, and that's pretty impressive in itself. But in all seriousness, those guys are incredibly skilled. They're incredibly fun to watch. They truly make it a spectator sport while they are out there, and they're there to do more than just win volleyball and put on a show. And they had a great run last year. They ended up getting knocked out by Baumgren in the quarterfinals, and there's certainly no shame in seeing your run end to those guys. I'm not sure if marriage will affect Ryan's game at all, because he has been married since last time they were out there, but I'm super, super stoked to see him and Shane compete together again this year, because they're just a blast to watch play.
Absolutely. To add on to what you're saying about them, Shane has told me that they will be competing this year, doing their best to imitate the Swedish jump setters for those who watch FIVB Beach. So they will, I believe they will be jump setting a lot of balls. So kind of like you said, worth the price of admission. Without attending Pottstown, I've got a couple Shane Pottstown stories to share, which should just tell you exactly what you're dealing with. I believe I saw a clip of him going up and hitting a ball and just spatching it, a million feet out of bounds, but catching the smallest touch on a block, letting his momentum carry him under the net, and then immediately airplaning around to the other around the net back onto his side. And then the other play to talk about, he started his match against the Baumgrens, and I believe they went into like an 0-2 hole early with like getting blocked and then a hitting error. And then Tim Baumgren pretty disrespectfully just like popped in a loopy ass float to Shane, and Shane, being who Shane is, was going to have no part of that. So he stepped up and hand set the serve, which proceeded to then have like a 20-minute argument about whether he was allowed to hand set the serve. No one was arguing whether it was clean or not. They were just arguing whether he was allowed to hand set the serve.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, who do you want to talk about?
I got to go. Well, there's, I don't know. I was going to go with Nick and Brett, because we play against them. I specifically play against them in every single tournament I play, like early in the tournament. And luckily I've gotten the better of those two this year. But they're going to be unbelievably strong on the grass, because on the beach, they're known as essentially two guys that just go back and bomb serves and don't really care about the rest. And side out wise, Brett 6'5", 6'6" outside in Hawaii, and Nick was a setter at King with an absolutely rocket arm. He's one of those setters that you laugh at, because they spend all the warm-ups setting all these hitters, and then at the end of the warm-ups he'll hit like 1-2 ball, and he hits it harder than all of the hitters just hit their warm-up swings. So that's definitely a team from our region I'd love to see do well, and I think they have all the tools to make it happen. And then the team that I was looking at when I was looking at them, so they're the 18. The 19 is Josue Castillo and Jake Urrutia. And I guess, Rob, you can expand on this team if you want to, but Josh and Jake are both from the Northeast, and I guess they're both probably, I'd say Jake's maybe 6'3", 6'4", and Josh is probably more like 6 feet tall. But another team that is just going to be an absolute nightmare to try and ace. I doubt many teams will have that ability on them, and they absolutely can also bring it from the service line as well. So they're two good guys, and I think they're going to be loud all day long. And if they don't win the tournament, they'll win the party that night.
Yeah, Josh and Jake definitely had a ton of success playing a bunch of Gav stuff before Jake split to California to train full time, and Josh has actually since moved to Boston, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not I'm not aware of how much he's been training. I know he gets a little bit of indoor time in with the bounce, a little bit of indoor time with Team Freedom. But I'm not sure what his training group is up there. But like you said, those two guys are going to be really good in serve receive, and they're going to be really tough from behind the service line. And those are the two most important things of playing grass. They might have a quarterfinal appearance, back in the late 2010s, in that 2018, 2019 range. But I think this is the first time we've had them back out here as a partnership for Pottstown in a while. So it'll be fun to see those two guys reunite out here on the grass.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. My last contribution within that range, I don't really want to talk about their play, but I've never really seen a crowd as united against an individual as I saw against the 16 seed James Moyer. Seeing an entire stadium crowd chanting Moyer sucks when he's not even playing is something pretty spectacular to see. So I'd love to see it, and hopefully we'll get a repeat performance this year.
I will give those guys some props. Got a semifinals at the pre-Rumble at East Coast Volleyball, which is pretty well seen as a good preview to Rumble weekend. So him and Ryan are playing really, really good volleyball. So hopefully we can get them on center court and give the fans a chance to break those chants out again.
All right, let's run through kind of 10 to 15. Who jumps out to y'all? Go ahead and let Rob start.
Yeah.
10 to 15. The first one, I think all these names are pretty big at this point, but it has to be Chris Vaughn and Jake Rosner. Chris is probably the strongest beach guy on the East Coast right now, or I should say Mid-Atlantic East Coast, playing consistently. Recently had a really good showing out at Muskegon in Michigan, and he's just an all-around stud. It's simple enough to say. He's one of the few guys who's had a lot of success at Pottstown without being a primary jump server. He hits a nasty float. He can break out the jump when he needs to. And partner Jake Rosner, Kevin, I'm sure you know a little bit more about him than I do, but I'm really excited to see how his game translates to the grass. I know he hits a big lefty topspin.
Yep.
Anytime I watch him and Chris play on the tiny little Instagram live, it seems like he's a really aggressive attacker.
Yep.
And all we're doing is giving him some more room to serve, some more room to smash. So I'm super stoked to see what he looks like on the big court, inside out, in the grass game.
I was going to say the only question I would have about that team at all would be just if Jake hasn't played much grass, it can be really taxing on the body. But so it's interesting with this group. If you were to take segments of 5 all the way down the list in terms of the tournament, I would actually probably take this group to be the strongest 5 over like the 1 through 5 or the 6 through 10 because there's 3 teams in the middle. 11 at Chris Vaughn and Jake Rosner. That's a very legitimate AVP team. Probably top 20 team, either top 20 or definitely top 30 in the country. The next team, Max Martin and Caleb Queckel, are like definitely the next on deck for the AVP. Max, I think, took either a second or a first, and definitely a second at Wapaka for the AVP event. And then Caleb Queckel, you've seen him in a couple main draws. He won Panama, or he either won or got second in Panama City for that AVP qualifier with Marty Lorenz. Definitely one of those guys that's been pegged as an up-and-coming guy on the scene. He's like 20 or 21 years old. Fantastic person. I've met him a couple of times. And I just expect Max and Caleb to be absolutely unstoppable on the grass. Caleb is 6'4", 6'5", and has been tested at 11'6". Max is like 6'6", 6'7", and jumps really well himself. So their only question would just be ball control, but they're beach guys, so I assume they're going to have it. And then obviously you can go on and on about them, but Shane Donahue and Mark Burek, I would love to know, or Burke, I would love to know how many times that day that Mark yells Shane. If you keep a ticker on that, you can probably hear it. Again, just two guys that have made a lot of AVPs, fantastic human beings, and also got to be a top 5 contender to win the whole thing. And then you literally have last year's winner of the whole tournament, Eric Lucas and Andre Belov at 14. Andre with the most dangerous serve in the game, probably for the last 10 years running. and his partner Eric is a physical specimen in himself. And if anyone is curious how this team plays, just look at last year's final. So that's my take on it.
Shameless plug for our YouTube channel. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you guys covered it pretty much. I don't really have anybody else to talk about within that range because there isn't anybody else in that range. So
You're welcome.
yeah, so let's go ahead.
The next range.
Nice, appreciate that. So let's go ahead and move down to, let's say, let's talk 5 through 10. I'll start with John Brooks, Garrett Dim. Kind of an undersized team. Both have pretty heavy arms. Garrett Dim, a former, 1A Pottstown playing with Cam Beans. It's a very interesting team, very ball control heavy team. Team that's going to side out and then just try to AC from the line. I don't know if they will, and Robert, you can speak to this maybe a little bit better, but I do think they have a bit of an uphill battle to finish as high as their seeding. They'll have to be really on their games to finish that high, but great players all around.
Yeah, they're definitely in a tougher spot, especially when you look at it as a 2-day tournament, because like you said, they're either scoring a lot of points from the service line or working really hard for gruesome transition points of making digs, chasing it down, sticking big balls. And I feel like the longer the tournament goes on, the tougher and tougher it gets to do that. Now, they do have a little bit of a fire and ice. I've played against these guys in the playoffs, and you kind of have your choice of, hey, do we want to go at Garrett and see some really big swings, or do we want to serve at John and, get shot to death, especially on the big grass court? He's got a lot of room there. But the cool thing about that team is they both can switch roles. Brooks is just as capable of taking big swings, and Garrett can be really precise with some of his cut shots on the right side. So definitely a team that's not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to work really hard to earn your points against them.
Sure. Next, we'll talk about Andrew Dentler and Angel Dache. Andrew Dentler recently coming off a 5th place finish, I believe, at AVP New Orleans with Skylar Del Sol, correct? So, he's really playing some good ball in the sand. Should hopefully transition pretty well to a slightly bigger court. I don't know if Dentler's necessarily known for, having a rocket from the service line. Definitely a little bit more of the kind of fundamental beach player. But I'm sure, even if he doesn't quite bring that service pressure, I'm sure Angel's got that in spades from the line. Might hit the hardest ball of anybody in this tournament. Definitely in the discussion. So that's a strong leading contender for this tournament as well.
Yeah, I would say Dentler's almost like a surgeon from the service line in the grass. He might not be hitting the heaviest ball, but, I keep joking about the extra room. He really takes advantage of it. He's going to pick sidelines. He's going to pick back corners. He's going to be able to make guys work outside of their body, into seams, into tough spots without sacrificing any of the power he does have. So it might not be pressure in the sense of, hey, you're seeing a lot of pace, but you're really going to have to work and be, like you said, super fundamental to stay as in system against him as you want to be. Back in 2019, when he and Shane beat Kalinsky and Baranek in the final, if you go back and look, I think him and Shane probably scored 13 of their 15 points from the service line, while Bill and Eric were really trying to do everything in transition with 2 float serves. So it just kind of shows that even though he might not have the most powerful jump serve, he can still be a big point scorer for him.
So the last thing I want to mention out of this group is I need to know if our guy, old man Mark Forniciari, is able to carry Liam Maxwell as hard as he carried Nolan last year. Like, Liam's a good up and coming player. Nolan actually coached Liam at Belmont Abbey. I think Liam very recently was actually able to get past Nolan in a tournament, which I think beforehand he may have been 0-20 against him all time. So Liam taking that step past Nolan in the recent tournament. Again, this is all from my understanding. And then you got Mark, slow and steady wins the race, and Mark was able to put Nolan on his back for last year and side out every ball for him. And we just got to figure out if we can do the same for Liam.
Anyone else in that range you want to talk about, Robert?
Yeah, I would say maybe not so much talking about their play, because anyone who's seated inside the top 10 is obviously a quality player. But I'm going to issue a Pottstown challenge to everyone. Ryan Alou, seeded 7, only plays grass volleyball in white t-shirts. I'm going to challenge you guys to get a picture with Ryan at the beginning of the day and then Ryan at the end of the day. He's a former Division I libero from St. Francis. He's playing for Team Freedom in the NBA. He is in a master's program up at Dartmouth. He's a brilliant kid, but somehow hasn't figured out that wearing a white t-shirt to Pottstown isn't the best idea. So try and get your picture with Ryan at the beginning of the day before he starts playing defense. Find one with him at the end of the day. He'll be white on white, and then it'll turn into brown on pink by the end of the day. So find Ryan, get your before and after photo, and maybe there'll be a prize for you at the booth.
All right. Graham, shall we?
Yeah. 1 through 5.
Should we go team by team for this one? Because these guys are all definitely serious contenders.
Yeah, sure thing. Start us off, Robert.
I was gonna say I don't know the 5 seed.
I can take the 5 seed for sure. Logan Hunsberger, Travis Moyer, one of the top pairings in Pennsylvania on the grass. These guys are both Messiah alums. Really, really cool combination of power and precision. Logan, he passed the airport test. If you walked by this guy, you'd go, man, this kid looks like a good volleyball player. His muscles have muscles, his abs have abs. Hits a heavy ball, but really has good skill and refinement to his game still. Great personality, great guy, plays with a ton of energy. Had a good run last year. I can't remember who they got knocked off by, but certainly no shame. And Travis Moyer's got a little bit of that Dentler in his game, just absolute precision on the grass. Can find your line, you take a step over again. So next time he finds the outside of your line when he's serving, just really can dial it in from back there. They do some really nice things with their blocking scheme to create some transition opportunities, even though they might not be the quickest guys or the biggest guys. They find ways to score some points, and all it takes is them catching one of those heaters, really using their energy and their chemistry together. And while they might not be a name you expect to be in the mix at the end, if you don't follow Pennsylvania specifically, I certainly wouldn't be shocked to see them there if that's the case.
Solid.
Yeah.
I think I can definitely take 4 with my guy Nolan. I play a lot of beach with him. I'm going to play beach in a few weeks in Denver with the big guy. He was a finalist last year, known for his massive highlight swings and then also very precise but very, very heavy serve. Paints a ton of sidelines, and everybody always says, he's getting lucky. And I hear this at every tournament I go to. It's like, he's the best I've ever seen this guy serve. Like he's just hitting sideline. It's like, dude, the 7th time he does it, it's not lucky. Like he can do that. And not that it's going to hit the sideline every time, but it's going to be curling away from you towards that sideline. You're thinking, ooh, do I play it? Do I not? And it's like, dude, just play it. Like he gets into moods where he just racks up points. So, he obviously got carried last year by Mark, siding out every ball, but, Nolan took a couple on 2 here and there and a couple big swings. So he got a lot more attention than Mark did. Jokes aside, he's a fantastic player on the grass and on the sand.
He's got an off speed from the line too, I'll add, that's very deceptive, and a real heavy wrist that he can also slow down and really carve the ball towards short sidelines as well. That's really challenging to deal with.
Yep. And Tomas is a grass player, grass/indoor. I think he played pro overseas actually. So really, really good. 6'2", but jumps extremely high. Very live arm. The thing about these two is you don't really know who to go after, because they can both pass, set, and swing real well. And I don't think either one of them has an overwhelming block, but Pottstown has never really been about blocking anyway. So I would expect this team to make quarterfinals at least.
Kevin, where do you think they're going to play sidewise? Because if I'm correct, they're both traditionally guys who play on the left. Do you think we'll see Nolan on the right, or do you think we'll see Tomas on the right?
That's a really good question. I know that Nolan has played both sides with me, and we ended up settling in, because that was actually the problem that Nolan and I ran across, was that just because we both kind of blocked, we ended up both playing left, and we tried both, and I ended up more comfortable on the right. So I know he can play the right side, and especially on the grass, he should have no trouble siding out. And then Tomas also played the left with Max Martin. So I don't know. I'd actually be very curious. I would guess that Nolan would stay on the left just because his two ball is so lethal from over there. But that's anyone's bet on that end of things.
I was going to say for class trips, I believe Tomas played right.
Okay.
Not 100% on that, but I believe they had I don't remember his name, but they had a pretty athletic lefty setting, and then I believe they had Nolan passing and hitting outside, and then Tomas hitting right side.
Gotcha.
But a lot of times also coming around for a two ball.
So 3 seed, who's got him?
Not me.
All right. I can definitely talk about Matt and Ryan. I'm not sure during my brief stint in men's open across probably the last 5 years before I mostly gave up the outdoor game. I'm not sure I've ever been placed in a pool with a different 1 seed more often than I have had Matt Elias and Ryan Genova. Matt, 6'3" setter from Juniata, currently playing for undefeated Team Freedom in the NBA. The dude is just a next level athlete. He looks pretty skinny, but man, he gets up there. He is the most confident, or one of, if not the most confident hand setter you will see in this tournament, and can just do every part of the game. He's got 1 runner-up and 1 win so far on the ECV schedule. So he's had a good start to the grass. Partner Ryan Genova, 6'8" outside, also from Juniata College. And even though he's getting up there in age, he's like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better. Contacts at a super high point. And because of that contact, he has so much range to just hit angles that you wouldn't guess. They're so unpredictable, and both guys have a lot of variety from the service line. They can both hit really nice jump spins. They can both hit floats to reserve their bodies during that pool play period. And they've been playing together for 3 or 4 years now. They got a win in the Smash a few years ago. So they've done it on big stages, and they're going to be able to compete at this level again. Just a really solid team with a lot of experience playing together, who, once again, you're going to have to go out there and beat them. There's no way these guys are beating themselves.
All right, Graham, you got the 2 seed?
Sure. Cam Beans out of, whatever region he wants to be defined out of these days. And then we've got David Evans, who I believe is from the Pittsburgh area. Definitely a little ball control monster team. I'm going to hit some heavy serves as well. I believe Cam will be playing left, David playing right. Cam won Pottstown back in 2018, I want to say? 19.
2018, I think.
Okay. So Cam's won a Pottstown before. David playing some real solid ball as well. I think these days you'll see both of them more often out on the sand than the grass, I believe. So especially with David Evans, I would say look for him to play a bit more of a beachy style. But they'll definitely be a tough team to deal with, and definitely have some exciting matches.
So these guys actually played Horsham Day together at ECV, and Dave was on the left with Cam on the right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now they lost to a player we just talked about in Matt Elias, and a player we're about to talk about in that semifinal, but had a really good day. And I would be surprised if they switched it up from there, because it seemed like Dave was seeing a lot of the serves, and it gives a nice option for him to swing on the side he's a little bit more comfortable, which is the left. He was the National Player of the Year back in 2015 at Stevens Tech as an outside. So contrary to what you believe, I think we're going to see Dave on the left and Cam on the right for the weekend.
Okay, fair enough.
So the 1 seed, these guys are guys that we're familiar with because they come down and play in our region every once in a while, and I'm sure up north they're extremely well known. But I was talking to Mark about it, and I was like, yeah, they got to be like the one team that could truly, in theory, be considered like a grass pro team. He's like, what are you talking about, man? So Mark is apparently like the number inside the top 5 grass players ranked in the country, and by points or whatever. And he was like, they win all these small tournaments. They're obviously good players. Like, they beat some good teams. He's like, but when it comes down to it, what have they done? And I was like, I don't know, man. And he's like, they're always out before the quarterfinals. And I went and looked it up, and he's right. They come in as like the 1 seed or a really high seed, and they just haven't quite put it together for this big Pottstown tournament, despite having two of the harder serves out there and being kind of the perfect mold for big court grass. Nate at 6'4", 6'5", jumps well, and Ian it's probably 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in that range, and also no slouch himself, and they can absolutely wreck balls like deep into the court. They're one of the few teams probably that's used to serving on a big court and also used to passing balls on a big court grass. So I don't know. That's my read on them. I think that they hopefully can put it together and at least make the quarters or semis this year. But yeah, the 1 seed is the 1 seed for a reason. They win a lot of grass matches. Anybody else?
Graham, you want to go, and then I'll wrap it up because I see one of these guys every day.
Perfect.
I think the only thing I have to add is I believe Nate moved down to Florida, correct, and is doing. He's been playing a lot more beach lately.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, not that he's lost his touch on the grass per se. I'm sure that he will be just fine. But no, I mean, I haven't really seen either of them play a ton on the grass. I've seen them play a few beach tournaments. Both great players. I don't really have much to add other than that, so I'll let Robert take it away from here.
Yeah. So I am lucky enough to see Ian almost every day. He's currently my assistant up at Misericordia. And if I don't see him every day, we certainly talk every day. He is a guy who puts the work in, and I see that firsthand. Sometimes he's in the weight room when I'm asking him to get something done in the office. So, I'd love to see him fix that up a little bit. But in a serious note, like Kevin said, these guys are professional grass players because they put that work in. Ian is 3 for 3 to start the year in the East Coast Volleyball Tour. And he's actually 3 for 3 with 3 different partners. He won with Matt. He won with Logan, and then he just won this last weekend with Nate. He's played on both left and right in those tournaments. And this past weekend, him and Nate actually played Hawaiian style, and we're just walking under the net and not switching sides of who was playing where. So they're really getting comfortable in that sense. They didn't give up more than 5 points in the side out game, so they were winning pretty comfortably. And I think that, having that confidence of, knowing that they've put that work in and that this is their time in their year, they're my pick. And this field is loaded. Like Kevin said, that 11 to 15 range is just nuts this year, especially. But I think if these guys can keep their mind on volleyball all weekend long, they haven't been outside the top 4 of any tournament they've played, I think, in the last year. Whether you're looking at AVP Nationals or what they've done in the grass, it just hasn't come together for Pottstown per se. And I think they both know that. And, as much as there are headlines in our sport, this is what they'd be talking about on First Take Volleyball edition, that these guys haven't been able to make it happen at Pottstown. They both know that, and they both want it to happen. And I've seen one of them training for the past year, and I've heard about the other training for the past year. So I think they're ready to take the stage. And, I'd love to see these two take down the $10,000 check because of the work they've put in.
All right. Is there any other comments, concerns, or tidbits?
I would say the last thing is just a huge shout out to the Pottstown Rumble staff, Ken, Seth, and the entire Parks and Recreation department there. This isn't a huge production, or it didn't start that way, at least. This was Ken Kaz bringing a tournament to Pottstown because he went to one somewhere else and said, hey, this would be fun to do in our town. And 32 years later, they're holding their 30th edition. And it's become, the biggest doubles tournament and the second biggest grass tournament in the country. And it's not like they're doing this in some farm or, some professional complex. This is just a park in the middle of a suburb of Philly. So what they've been able to turn this tournament into is because of a lot of volunteers and a lot of people who put in hard work. And it's a volleyball festival for the entire weekend. If you've never been, I suggest you make it up for a weekend. Kevin, it's inexcusable you haven't been at this point. Even if you don't want to play, you can come hang out in the booth with me. But it's my favorite weekend of the year. almost exclusively, and I'm really looking forward to a great celebration for the 30th anniversary.
I do want to come play. I only picked up this whole doubles triples thing 2016, the year after I graduated college, and I fell in love with it. And it's one of those tournaments that everybody talks about, and I need to make a point to get to more of those. And I've got the travesty is I've gotten up to Wapaka and I haven't gotten up to Pottstown. I live on the East Coast. Like, what am I doing? But Wapaka had a beach tournament associated with it, so I'll make an exception and come to a grass only tournament here in the next few years. I promise.
I'll bring a sandbox for you and make you feel
There
at
you
home.
go. I'll stand in the sandbox all day long.
Yeah, I've got to find my way up there as well. I was thinking that because I've never been either. I was thinking this year might be the year, but unfortunately, the best laid plans sometimes don't come to fruition. So hopefully next year I'll be up there. Definitely got to make a point to go up.
We can do this live next year. Live
Yeah.
in 2023. We'll do it together.
Listen, I'm gonna hold you guys to it because
Do it.
snow, rain, sunshine, whatever it is, Pottstown's happening, and I'll be there. So I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire on that.
Let's do it.
All right. Sounds
Jen.
good. Thanks for hopping on, Rob. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you bringing your grass expertise and keeping me in line, especially as far as which sides of the court people are going to be playing on, because apparently I don't know anything. So greatly appreciated, Kevin. It's good to have you back on the podcast finally.
Yeah.
So I'm fresh out of things to say. Anyone else got anything to add before we sign off here?
Not on my end. I really love doing these, and this reignited my love for just literally talking about volleyball players. So let's keep this thing going and make sure we make it up to Pottstown next year.
All right.
Yeah, we can work through all 150 teams in person for next year. It'll be a blast.
All right. On that one, let's sign off.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.